So when we look at the periodontum, peri means around, or dont comes from the word tooth. We're looking at structures that are around the tooth, and we looked at the gums, we looked at periodontal ligament fibers, we know that there's bone that's surrounding the tooth. Now what we're going to look at is cementum, and cementum is basically a layer that's covering the root. It's a layer that's covering covering the tooth. Yeah, let's put it that way. So let's look at cementum more carefully. When we're looking at the cementum, which is usually a yellowish brownish color that is covering the entire tooth, it's basically a mineralized tissue. So it's just a tissue or a layer that's mineralized. It has minerals that's covering the tooth roots. Okay, so it's only covering the root, not the enamel, just the root. One of the cool things about it is that it covers or seals the open dentinal tubules. So if you look at the anatomy of a tooth, let's see if I can draw it. We have the enamel. Okay, so this is the enamel. Underneath the enamel, we have the dentin. Okay, and then we have, maybe I can draw it in gray. Then we have like the pulp. Okay, my poor drawing. But what I want to get at is the yellow dentin that we're going to look at. Okay, so this area over here that I am coloring is the dentin. And so what you notice is that the cementum, which is the brown that's outlining the root, the cementum covers the dentin. And that's really important, because if I were to zoom in, oops, I don't know what happened there. Let's do that again. So if I were to zoom into the dentin, okay, I'm just going to color that in again. The dentin actually has tubules or holes, which are known as dentinal tubules. And when these holes or tubules are open, we're going to feel sensitivity. Anytime we eat something cold, we're going to feel it because those tubules are open. So what the cool thing about cementum is that it actually covers the entire dentin so that it can seal those tubules. So now we don't feel any sensitivity. Okay, so one of the things that is cool about cementum is that it covers those dentinal tubules. Now, when we are debriding, okay, or instrumenting our clients, debriding our clients, one thing that can happen is as we're scaling or debriding away, we can remove cementum, and when we remove cementum, now the dentin is exposed. So now we might feel sensitivity. So it's important that we do not need to remove the cementum to eliminate bacteria. Okay, it's so important that we keep the cementum, we preserve the cementum. The cementum has some great, benefits, and one of the benefits is that it seals the tubules. So do not aggressively debride the cementum off. Now we do have layers of cementum or types of cementum. We have something called acellular cementum and then cellular cementum. Notice that the acellular cementum is drawn a lot thinner compared to the cellular, which is a lot thicker. And firstly, the way I remember it is alphabetically. So A comes first in the alphabet. So I'm going to put A over here. C comes later in the alphabet. So it goes towards the root. Okay, so A is first and then C. So A for acellular and then C for cellular. Now what I want you guys to know is that the acellular has no living cells. And what that basically means is that once the cementum is gone here, it's gone for good. We can't get cementum back. So acellular cementum is the cementum that we could actually debride off, and we need to be very careful because once it's gone, it is gone. Cellular cementum, however, has living cells. It has something called cementocytes, which we'll look at later on, but basically it is present at the bottom, okay, near the apical and intraradicular parts of the root. Okay, the apical is the bottom, apex, and intraradicular. And this actually gets bigger. You get more and more cementum over time. And the reason why we get more and more cementum over time is because if we're grinding or if we're clenching, if we have attrition, right? So we're grinding and we're putting a lot of pressure on our tooth, eventually our cementum has to compensate and create that cushion over here, and it'll build more cementum at the bottom. So cellular cementum is the one that we get a lot more of, so we can get a lot more cellular cementum throughout our life. the older you get, the more cementum we'll have because of the constant attrition that we get. So the cementum is built to compensate for the attrition. So acellular cementum is on the top, is towards the enamel, and cellular cementum is towards the apex of the root.